Merci d'être venu. Je veux d'abord, je m'appelle Alex Atamanenko, je suis porte-parole en matière d'agriculture pour notre parti. J'aimerais d'abord remercier Tony d'avoir invité nos invités ici, témoigner. Je pense que c'est important de savoir que si c'est notre industrie, c'est de l'élevage, il faut que l'industrie survive. Même si, par exemple, même si les exportations ont triplé pendant les 20 dernières années, nos producteurs de bœuf gagnent moins de la moitié de ce qu'ils gagnaient il y a 20 ans. Ce n'est pas vraiment pas normal et c'est pas juste. Yesterday in Ag Committee, the president of the Canadian Federation of Agriculture, M. Laurent Pellerin, stated that we are in a crisis situation. It's not a matter of saying, well, somehow we will survive. This is the same crisis he pointed out that the fisheries industry faced years ago, and this is a crisis that's facing all of Canadians, and we have to do something. It's not enough, in my opinion, to say, well, we will open up more markets. And to their credit, the government is trying. However, we need to put our producers on a level playing field. It's not fair. It simply is not right that the Americans have different standards when it comes to specific risk materials than we do here. When our slaughterhouses need an equivalent of, I believe it's $31.70 per cow to just get onto a level playing field with their counterparts in the United States. So this is a role. This is a role that the federal government can play. This is a letter that was written by many major organizations here asking the minister to step in and at least save those slaughterhouses, Canadian establishments that exist, so at least we have a market where these folks can take their beef. It just seems that we always get caught up in this more trade. We'll be the good guys. We'll play that game, and yet the Americans seem to do whatever they want. Now these folks are facing country of origin labeling. Our response is to challenge us at the WTO. Well, that will take time, whether we're successful or not. In the meantime, our cattle producers are being hit hard because the market is slowly being blocked to them in the United States. And I would like to say that there may be other solutions that we have to find. And a lot of us have read, for example, the report put out by the National Farmers Union. There's some points in there that may actually help us have a made in Canada policy instead of always worrying about what markets we have to open and what markets we can maybe open and then they will close. So I would like to call on this government to first of all think of its farmers here and support them. And there are specific things that can happen, and the first thing that they could do this today, is to get that $31.70 subsidy to our abattoirs so they won't be shut down, so that at least these folks have a place to send their cattle so that we can start working on some other made-in-Canada solutions. Merci beaucoup.
If anybody has any questions, would be more than happy to answer them.
Farm representatives here. First of all, perhaps to Gord from the OFA, if you want to use the mic so it's recorded.
From Ontario Cattlemen.
Ontario Cattlemen.
Yes.
Are you also speaking today for the CCA? Because I noticed John Maswell was originally supposed to be here, or at least he was in the press release. Are you able to speak to say the CCA also supports this?
I am an executive director of CCA.
Specifically on the agri-stability, and several people have mentioned that, what changes would be helpful to the cattle sector that could be done? Because ministers are meeting in January to look at how the agri-stability program is working. So what could they decide that would be helpful?
One thing in the beef industry that has been a real problem has been the negative margins. We work with a very small margin. We don't have large margins. We've asked for assistance with the negative margins that exist in the program right now. There are a lot of producers being forced out just by the way the program is assembled. Removing the viability test is one part that we have asked for that would help producers, especially the ones that are down at the bottom of these negative margins. Also, thank you. Now I need my glasses to read. With the removal of, or the increase of coverage to 70% from 60% would also be beneficial. Offer the better of the Olympic or the previous 3 years average for reference margins calculations. So give them a choice. Remove the caps from AgriInvest and AgriStability.
As mentioned in their meeting last July, federal and provincial agriculture ministers agreed to, I think at actually your Ontario minister's suggestion, agreed to review particularly the AgriStability to see if it's working. They're going to meet again in January. Question to you and then also to Mr. Robertson from the NFU. In the course of their examination of that program, have they contacted OCA or CCA or any organization to get farmer input on this, or are you aware of any consultations?
Going back to the provincial minister from Ontario, she did bring that forward with requests from Ontario commodity groups. And all commodities had agreed to some of these changes to CASE and how beneficial they would be.
In the course of their review since July, have they actually been asking organizations like yours what could be changed, how is it working, that sort of thing?
Not in Ontario.
And Mr. Robertson, the same question to you. Do you know if NFU has been consulted by ministers on how the programs are working and how they could be changed?
The Ontario Minister Dombrowski has certainly discussed with us our concerns around AgriStability. On the federal level, we have not seen any discussions about that. And let's remember that this government promised that they were going to scrap CASE, and what they did was scrap the name and basically left it all in place. And CASE is a program that simply cannot work because it's based on margin. And when you have declining margins, you simply are always going to be ratcheting down assistance available to those farmers. So that program needs a complete rehaul, and we've been calling for that in the NFU from the very beginning. We highlighted problems with CASE. None of those have been fixed, and we're just seeing those carry forward at the federal level.
Final question for me to the two MPs here. It's on an unrelated matter, but how are you both going to vote tonight on C-391? You're both kind of from rural areas.
I think this government is these guys want to make this a divisive issue, and I've been bombarded by all sorts of propaganda. There's no relevance to that bill and to what's going on here. We have more important issues to face, such as the crisis facing these folks. For your information, I do have 3 rifles. They're registered. I have a big piece of property, and I don't see any problem in that whatsoever.